Hello again. I've come on slightly later today, and welcome back to The Good Enough Mum. And today what I want to talk about is a thing I read in a book this week. And it's about how we perceive what we think about ourselves, that we're responsible for the way we receive things, and that partly our experience of life is due to the way we perceive things. And it was a really useful illustration that the author used. And it was about how, imagine that you're in a cinema and you're watching a film. And it's sort of like a horror movie, and there's all this stuff that just keeps going on. And you're looking at it thinking, oh no. And the problem is that can often be the way we are in our lives, in that we project onto our cinema screen stories from the past, and we perceive what is happening to us according to those stories from the past. So, for example, we might be quite worried about our performance, perhaps for something that's coming up, and that's because we're projecting onto our cinema screen our beliefs from the past about how we're not very good or how we're a failure. And so already, before we've actually even embarked on the task, we're imagining that we're not going to make a success of it. And then perception comes into it, because what happens is we actually start looking at all the ways in which we go wrong, rather than actually believing that some things went right. And as I'm talking, I'm actually realising, the penny's beginning to drop, because at the weekend I taught a course to some other counsellors on the brain and compassion. And I actually had some really good feedback. But of course, because one of the things that I worry about is whether or not I'm good enough, I started to think that perhaps I hadn't done a good enough job, despite the fact that I got good feedback. And then, of course, the days have gone by and I've continued to receive good feedback about it. And just even talking here, it's made me realise, I'm looking at that cinema screen of not being good enough, and I'm trying to find all the ways to prove that I'm not good enough. And in actual fact, I was good enough. It was fine. And that's because what I'm doing is I'm projecting my beliefs about myself onto the evidence that's in front of me, and I'm drawing from that evidence what I want to hear. So actually, what we do is we perceive what we project about ourselves. We choose what we see. It's really important for us to actually then try and look for something different, to actually look to see what the other evidence is, that perhaps if we had a different picture, we might see things differently. We might actually be able to think differently about ourselves. If we start out thinking, well, what's the positive stuff I can find? How different would our experience be? And so when I look back at that particular Saturday when I was teaching, I can think about some really, really enjoyable parts of the day, and how much people said at the end that some of it was very useful to them. And hold on to those and think, yes, I did do a good job. And that makes me think, oh, actually, yeah, I can do it. And it gives me the power and the strength to go on in the future to do more. And the important thing in all of this is that we often stop ourselves from doing things because we're seeking to prove how bad we are. Why is that? Why do we have to believe we're bad? Why don't we believe we're good? Why not change the record? Why not change? Probably the easiest way to describe it is if it's a projection, you change the reel, don't you, in the cinema? Let's change the reel and see what's good about ourselves. What about all the times in the past where you've made a success of things? How many things have you done in your life where you've actually done quite a good job? And often people who don't feel they're good enough, they're very conscientious as a result, and there's loads of things that they've done well. So that's what I'd like you to think about. What about all the things that I've done well, and how could I use those? How could that be the film that I watch, rather than the film about how I might do things badly? So if you've enjoyed listening to this little talk, I'd be really grateful if you could like it and comment on it and share it so that other people can hear it too. And thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you again next week. Bye!